So welcome back, Guardians. A little early this morning. It's a Sunday morning. It's nice and quiet. I'm doing some laundry. Got the room fans going at low because it's still cool outside, so I'm gradually drawing in cool air instead of trying to push hot air out like I am doing right now with my mouth. So, getting into the video. This week's Nightfall, I believe it's called the Light Blade. It's on Savathun's Throne World. But anyway, so I play hero because I rando, and I don't really feel like sweating on, master and legendary kind of content because I don't believe in doing 80% of the effort for only 20% of the profit. That's just not good business. But one of the things that I did try this morning was this Nightfall. I believe it's the Light Blade. And the approach was not so bad, but I could immediately see what my two blueberries were up to. They were aping in way too much. And I'm all for a little bit of bravado and some confidence and stuff like that, but if you're going to DT your way through a content, expecting everybody around you to have your back because you're just that special and important, that's not going to happen. I play very conservatively. I play very, strategically and tactically. And it seems like most player tactics is really, it's the Light Blade. Yeah, okay. First of all, let's take a look at what we got here. I'm not sticking around, by the way. I'm not. Yeah, I'm not. Nope. Yeah, no. Vince can go ahead and yabber all he wants. Anyway, so yeah, I'm not a fan of the Savathun strikes. I don't like them as strikes, and I definitely won't tolerate them as nightfalls. They really should be segments of. I've been saying this about raids forever, practically since mid-game in Destiny 1, where I don't see the logic in taking a strike, a planetary strike, as part of the campaign. Okay, so it's a campaign strike. And then putting it in the playlist with a little bit more difficulty as a strike. That's what we called them. We didn't call them Vanguard Ops back then. And then ramping them up into the Nightfall with even more difficulty and extra, by way of extra enemies and higher hit points and all that kind of fun stuff, and some challenging shielding and all that stuff. So we had like skulls, what they call burns or surges in this game now. So there'd be things like match game, or ammo starving, or no radar, or that kind of stuff, or and then the usual burns like solar arc and void burn. And it was great because it encouraged you to strategize a bit more. You wanted to prepare your guardian and hopefully communicate with a team that could be ready for it. And that was the thing, is that the Nightfalls were not randomly matched. There was no matchmaking for Nightfalls. You had to find a team to play that. And it was easy to do. It was the raid that was a pain in the ass to get, 3 other people to play with you. But then you get the raid, and while the mechanics between that planet's raid throughout their strikes were similar, the functional parts of it, the mechanical parts of the raid, were just different enough to really throw a wrench into a lot of people. And I think that's part of the challenge of the raid. But I've never seen the logic in having the raid be this experience outside of the flow of Vanguard operations and the campaign setting. Like right now, we're in Lightfall, and I have not bought the campaign for Lightfall. I played the first mission for Lightfall, and was kind of like, okay, that's fine. I'm not digging Strand. I don't like it. In the little bit of time that I played it and the way I've seen it played now, Strand is one of those abilities that is, in my opinion, completely in the sense that it is selfish. It undermines your teammates, but it undermines yourself. I've seen so many people basically blow their guardians up by using Strand totally inappropriately. Strand is a long-range conservative tool. It's like using a scout rifle, not a sniper rifle, but like using a scout rifle and baits and lures to draw the enemy into your line of fire. You are a static, element, and it's the Strand that becomes your active extension. And I don't think people are understanding that. I don't even play Strand, but just my observations are telling me, having played enough games to see how certain strategies work. Like if you play chess, pawns, believe it or not, are not as dynamic as many chess masters will want to tell you. They are very static pieces. They are meant to funnel your targets into your kill boxes, literal kill boxes and fire lanes. There are fire lanes on a chessboard. You're not aware of it, but the pieces themselves are the bullets. And everybody thinks that the queen is like the most important piece. And while she is the cornerstone of many gambits, she is not any more important than the most important piece, the piece that decides the win or loss of the game, which is the king. The queen can be called the most dynamic piece, but at the same time, she's also the most static piece because she draws all the hate from the opponent. The queen will draw all the hate from the opponent. So what does that really make the queen? That makes her the tank. She has to be able to sustain that attack. How does she sustain that attack? By using the other pieces around her, and at the same time shielding the king. Basic strategies and tactics here. So if you're playing a Nightfall version of a strike, and it's going to be chock full of nutty little champions. I mean, I think before we got to the skiff, there was 6 champions. That's a lot. That's a fucking lot of champions. And I know Bungie said they were upping the difficulty in their ritual and aspirational content, but also because they were planning on having certain weekly challenges be completable through other venues. So for instance, if you don't want to go through Strike Burnout, you could, binge a little bit of, Gambit, which honestly, Gambit is kind of like an autopilot activity for me. I can get into a Gambit match and just turn my brain off and do whatever I need to do to fucking win and even mitigate the stupid of my teammates. And when I say stupid, I'm talking about this is Italian sociologist who wrote a paper, and a historian. He's also a historian. I can't remember his name. I really should put these notes down and like stick them someplace so I can remember when I reference this person. But he has these 5 principles of stupidity. I'm not going to get into those, but he made a infographic which that XYZ, that XY graphic. So it's like on the top level you have benefits yourself, and the bottom level does not benefit you or harms you. Then on the right side there is benefit others, and on the left side there's benefits nobody or harms them. And so on the bottom left-hand corner is stupidity, where it harms you and others. And even if you think you're doing something that pushes a goal for yourself, but on the behalf of somebody else, you're actually still stupid because you're completing an activity for somebody else who's not going to do that thing himself. And the example that the YouTuber that I was watching this presented by, can't remember the channel either. It's in my history. I'll look it up. Let me see if I can look it up while I talk. So he used the suicide bomber as an example. Subjectively, the suicide bomber thinks they're being a bandit. They're taking away from somebody else to benefit themselves, which is their cause or their ideal. When in fact, objectively, they are being stupid because they're harming themselves and others, whether it's for a cause or not. Because if the cause was that strong, then the person who told you to go do this thing would go do it themselves. Why would they send a minion to go do their own thing? It only shows you just how ridiculous the request actually is. And it's one thing if a person says, if I ask my family to pick up what's something I don't know how to make in the kitchen, or I don't make it very well. Oh, here we go. Perfect example. Last couple of weeks we've been without AC, so it's been really, really hot in the house. So cooking on the stove has been something that we've been avoiding. And I've been craving, tater tots. And in order to make tater tots, you got to use the oven, which generates a fuck ton of heat. Even on a cold day, with the AC going, it generates enough heat that you can feel it coming down the hallway. So I said, I'm really craving tater tots. And so my wife goes ahead and orders me takeout for tater tots from Domino's. By the way, I recommend them. They're totally fucking delicious. So, and I thought that was a super sweet thing. Now, see, tater tots are something that I can make for myself at home, but I don't want to create an environment that is uncomfortable for everybody by making the tater tots. So we get somebody else to make the tater tots for us. That's not being stupid. That's not even being a bandit. That's not even being a hapless person, which I'll get to that person. That's being intelligent, because you're doing something that is in benefit for others, and yourself as well. Our gain is our comfort in our house, and their gain is the fact that we pay them to make tater tots for us. Win-win. That's what you want. That's what they call intelligent people. And intelligent people aren't necessarily wealthy people or actually educated people. There are, and he brings this point up in the video quite a lot. There are, the Italian, the writer of the original article and the presenter of the information was very big on the whole idea that there are stupid Nobel Prize winners, and there are intelligent morons. In other words, because now here's the thing: there's a difference between idiocy, moronity. There's a difference between being a mendicant, a moron, and an idiot, as opposed to just being stupid. Stupid is a matter of your social connections. It's a matter of how you impact your environment and yourself around you and through you. Whereas, the grading of your intelligence, the grading of your knowledge is in that other context of being a moron, being an idiot, or just being an imbecile. It's weird. Glasses will help here. Okay, so we're going to go look at the history. I'm going to view all. So basically, getting back to the point of the video with player tactics. So these two people that I'm playing with just keep aping in and running in and stuff, and they think they're just, one's a Titan and one's a Warlock, and my opinions there. Oh fudge! I thought I had my. Okay, we got this taken care of here too now. There. Okay. And then they kept dying, And in the opening part of the Lightblade, you really do want to hold back as much as you can, because you're going to need to have those monsters come up to you. And here we go. It's TVL Podcast is the channel. And it's the 5 Laws of Stupidity. And I don't want to have that on there. He's talking about Snapchats. I don't want Snapchats. I want the information. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. Carlo Cipolla. CarloCipolla in the 1970s. An economic historian called Carlo Cipolla wrote a provocative article titled The Basic Laws of Human Stupidity. So, there you go. He's not a sociologist. Well, I guess you could say economic historian would call him basically a sociologist. But, yeah, Carlo Cipolla, The Basic Laws of Human Stupidity. Go watch the video. It's a fucking laugh. But the point being is that I started looking at these two people playing, and I was like, these people are stupid. They think they're benefiting themselves, but they're actually just harming themselves, and they're harming everybody else in this environment. I didn't die until we got to the skiff, and the only reason why I died was because these two individuals I was playing with were so preoccupied with trying to score kills, which I know is part of the points. And it's like, what were they expecting? My first goal in a Nightfall is to not die. Because when your character croaks, it puts a stress on the rest of the team. And when 2 players down, it's really bad because it starts a death spiral. Then you get a wipe, and then the event resets, like the encounter resets. Fortunately, modern Nightfalls don't kick you to orbit, and most fortunately, more current Nightfalls have less zones where there's a chance for an encounter reset. I just, after about their 5th, or so, paired eliminations, I decided I was enough, and I just left. Cut my losses. And I didn't feel like I was putting in a whole lot of the effort, because, it was a shared effort. It was, but you don't charge in, don't DT all the way in there, thinking that because you believe you're so special and most important that everybody else is going to watch your back. Especially if you're matchmaking in an activity. And especially if you're in a high, volume, high damage volume environment, which is, what the Nightfalls are, which all the content's now becoming, because so many other content creators out there are pissing and whining that it's too easy. I've got a clan. I've got several clans that could do just about anything in the content. I never have to wait more than 15 minutes to get a fire team together, and we're all maxed out with our levels and our armor and stuff because we've all been grinding this shit every day because this is our job, and so we do it 24/7. So all the content's so easy. Well, you know what? Making a grilled cheese sandwich when I was 6 years old was a challenge. Making a grilled cheese sandwich when I was 8 years old was pretty okay. By the time I was 10 years old, I could make grilled cheese sandwiches for not just myself, but everybody in my family. By the time I was 12 years old, I was making grilled cheese sandwiches for the week because I knew how to par cook. You know what I'm saying? The more you do a thing, the easier the thing is going to obviously become. The game is not responsible for ramping up its difficulty just to keep you entertained. There are difficulty settings in the activities. You know, I mean, no, there's not a difficulty setting for Gambit, which would be fun. No, there's not really a difficulty setting for Crucible, but you've got all these different scales. You've got, I don't want to fuck with anybody and just explore the map. It's just me versus everyone. I want to have a challenge of no radar and limited abilities. I want to go try something funky with the labs. I have no idea what the fuck's going on. I want to play competitive. There's an upgrade. So this could be like easy mode or baby mode. This might be like normal mode. This would be challenging. This would be challenging. These three right here would be challenging. This would be difficult, and this would be hardcore. Subjectively speaking, of course. And then over here in strikes, you know, you have three clearly defined tiers, and this one has multiple levels in it as well. You can go to masters, and then you can go to grandmasters. Grandmaster difficulty on Nightfall opens June 13th. Well, that's gated. It would be nice if there were difficulty levels in strikes. There would be, but then how would that make them any different than a Nightfall? You see what I'm saying? It's kind of like you don't really need... And then they put the raid all the way out there. Let's go find a raid. Let's go find a raid! Oh, there's a raid here, isn't there? There we go. Vow of the Disciple. Alright? And you got, you know, the basic levels. And then you got this one, which is the guided game. Never mind. But there are difficulties added to this as well, I thought. Maybe not. Maybe that's what they're pissing about or complaining about. There's a concern right now that the Final Shapes raid, which is going to be the closing chapter of the campaign, actually integrating the raid as part of the campaign, which is, I think, a fantastic idea. Now, if the campaign activities all, like, signpost what you're going to have to do in the raid, then somebody at Bungie has finally opened up the Matthew Colville's How to Be a Dungeon Master guide, and have read more than a dozen or so pages on how to be a good game designer. Because when you're a game master, when you're a GM or narrator or whatever for tabletop role-playing games, you are a game designer. You're using the engine, which is the mechanics and the rules, like you would use Unreal Engine in the game, but you're writing the encounters around those mechanics to make them work for the players. And that's basically why I dig role-playing games, because as a GM or DM, if I'm playing 5th edition, which I really don't much anymore, I get to play game designer, you know, and sometimes I even tweak the rules and modify the rules a bit. Like, we don't use death saves in 5th edition. We don't use feats. You have, it's kind of a heist feature, a heist mechanic, where it's like you walk into the room, and like I said, you walk into the room, there's 3 guards, and one of them is this got his back to you, and then one of the players might say like this, okay, well, the night before, they take a heist token, they give me the heist token, or whatever the token is, or what's the term they use? I just call it a narrative token. I'll just call it a narrative token, but it's called a heist token, basically. So they hand me a heist token, and they say, okay, what happens is the guard that has his back to us, he's actually our ally. I talked with him a few nights before at the bar about how unfair this casino is, and that, because it's going to be a casino, obviously, that, you know, if he helps us out, that I'll make sure he gets a cut. So I bribed him to help us out. He says, okay, perfectly fine. And then we take the point from there. And you only have so many heist tokens to use, so that's a way you can manipulate the rules. So it's like I have something like that in my games, where the player comes up on a situation, they might have a nice idea about it, And then I'll be like, it's like a plausibility bending of the paracausal universe, so to speak, if you will. And that's kind of the way it works. So they're saying that the final shape raid is going to be part of the actual narrative arc with a final chapter event in there that's going to be meaningful and worth completing the raid for on its own. Which I'm thinking, great. That's like I did this raid and all I got was a T-shirt, which is what we used to say when we used to get Chatter White from the Vault of Glass in D1. And I'm thinking, this is kind of sad. Okay, so and this is another reason why I don't do raids, because believe it or not, video gaming is not that important to me. Otherwise, it would be my job, and that would suck. And YouTube would just. I hear so many horror stories about YouTube versus the creators and things, and it's like, yeah, I'm really not in the mood for that. But anyway, so if you're going to be a player, learn some player tactics, learn some good tactics. Think about the fact that, even if you are randoing into an activity, even if you are just, there to have some fun and be casual about it, be aware, pick your activity accordingly. Just because the game might say, well, if you do a nightfall, you're going to get a particular thing, and you want that particular thing, then apply the effort necessary. And that effort isn't just about, Deadpool levels of maximum effort running in and getting yourself annihilated because you could just come right back. Maximum effort is also about, making sure you're not a liability, making sure that you're not draining or weighting down resources, because that's stupid. Yeah, that's kind of basically what I'm getting into here right now. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm super excited for Final Shape. I might actually buy that expansion. I think this one becomes free to play.
Hello, Guardian.
Next year when the Final Shape launches. And then again, it might all go free to play after the Final Shape. I might take a year off the game altogether and just, fart off as an occasional PvP when I get the itch. And not be stressed about it. It's hard to say at this present time. A lot of mixed feelings about the game, and I'm really kind of disappointed that so many people are just dunking on it with no real context or experience as to what's really necessary to make a game fun. And they're just, they expect too much, I guess, or they expect that they're the only person that matters in the match. And it's like, you're not. You're not the only thing there, and you need to fucking, check your sense of self-worth. I don't want to say privilege, because that's not a thing. Oh, I don't need this one. Yeah, okay. So you guys want to hang out and watch me, blow up aliens? That's totally up to you. Otherwise, thank you for stopping by. And in the meantime, don't be stupid. Don't kid yourself. You're doing something noble by, getting in the way of somebody else's efforts. Because in the end, you're just doing your own self-harm and everybody else. And don't necessarily be a bandit either. And don't be a hapless person. Oh, I want to close up on that. So, you'll watch the video, hopefully, the 5 Laws of Stupidity. The hapless person is a person who benefits others, but at their own expense. People stuck in codependent or abusive relationships are the hapless or helpless person. And I'm going to try to find a different word for that person. I'm going to say the martyr. So you have stupid people, you have martyrs, you have intelligent people, and then you have bandits. So I guess the martyr and the bandit would be really the dichotomy of that coin right there, wouldn't it? Because the two opposing axes. In any case, again, thank you for stopping by. I'm going to shut up now. You guys can watch the gameplay if you want. And yeah. Oh, warning, there may be periods of me just standing around emoting for no good reason because I'm getting coffee. Oh yeah, I'm going to be testing out this hand cannon. It's got field tested on it, so More damage means better perks. We'll see how that works out. Well, so far damage is just the same.
All Guardians on Cosmodrome channels. The city supply vectors have been disrupted across the system. Resources. Local hostiles should have everything we're looking for.
was on me.
Why would I not res somebody here? Because it's a patrol zone. And if you're dead in the patrol zone, you went AFK for a reason. So resing you would just be frustrating. Let's see how long it takes for them to proc some fucking special ammo for me. Got the clock on right now. There's a lot of sit around going on. What the hell? Ah, I see. That is a really big desk. That's just like up to my waist. All right, that's going to wrap me up for now. I got to get the laundry finished. Thanks for stopping by. In the meantime, think about your tactics. Think about how those tactics affect not just you and your opponents, but your teammates as well, whether you're in communication with them or not. Whether you know how they play or not, be considerate.